Hey everyone, just got the new PS5 power supply in the mail. Already opened it up to make sure it's all in there, not broken. So, this is the power supply for my PS5. Every PS5 generation has a slightly different power supply, so make sure you get the right one for yours. Mine happens to be the 1215A. This works for all 12 series from my understanding. Ordered it off of eBay. I believe it was like 43 American dollars, so not bad. So we're going to go ahead and go over how to install this. First off, we're going to go over the tools we need for the job. First up, you need some magnetic trays. I've got 3 of them here. You need those so you can keep your screws nice and organized and not lose them. There are different size screws, so you need to make sure you put them all in an area where you're not going to forget where they go. If you put a long screw in, a short screw hole, you may end up breaking something. So keep that in mind while you're doing this repair. You're going to need a pair of fine needle nose pliers. These ones are jewelry pliers, but they'll work just fine if I end up needing them. I've got some tweezers in this little toolkit here. This is an electronics repair toolkit. This kit has all the other tools that I need other than my little flashlight. The biggest one you're going to need is a screwdriver. You're going to need 2 bits primarily. You're going to need a Phillips, and you're going to need this tiny little Torx security bit. See if I can get it to focus. Doesn't really want to focus good, but this I believe is a T8 security Torx bit, and that's what most of the screws inside the console are. So you're definitely going to need that. Like I said, tweezers, they come in handy, and a little pry tool. Make sure it's plastic, and that's pretty much all you need for this job. Okay, start off with lay your console on its side. Okay, this is the front of the console. Mine is the disc console. The front has your disc entrance, your power button, 1 USB A and 1 USB C. Now, you're going to grab right here, lift up, and rotate it towards you a little bit. As you do that, the panel's going to come off. Repeat for the other side. Alright, now that we have our side cover panels off, you're going to see one side that has the fan cover with 4 little Torx bits. You're also going to see the connector for the fan right here. It's a very small connector. You need to be very gentle with it. If you're not, you're going to break it. Okay? You're going to gently wiggle that back and forth till it pops out. Then you're going to feed it in and out of these little tabs here that help secure it. You're going to lay it down. You're going to lift up on these fins right here, okay? Lift up gently and out. Up and out. Set it off to the side. Grab your screwdriver, take those 4 screws loose. Here, 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 and here. Alright, once you've taken those screws out, you're going to notice that they're different type of thread and different length, okay? You need to make sure you put those all back in the same hole. Then you can lift this cover off of the fan, set it to the side, and then you can gently lift your fan up out. I've already cleaned this once, but it's already got a little bit more dust buildup. It's really hard to get the dust completely off the fan. So do your best, but don't expect perfection. Next, you're going to take your Phillips bit. You're going to remove the screw for the solid state drive cover. Once you've got that screw out, you're going to lift up on the cover, pull it out. Nice and easy, not too hard. I go ahead and put that screw in the same tray as the screws for the fan. Next, around the entire cover of the PlayStation here, you've got these little triangles. At every screw hole that there is a triangle, you remove that screw. Again, make sure to put those screws in an order that you're going to remember where they go. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll continue. Oh, And all those screws are the T8 security Torx. Make sure you swap your bit back. All right, so there are two screws that do not have the little triangle on it right there. It's kind of hard to see in this lighting. You've got one here, and you've got one here. Both of those do need to come out. Don't forget the screw right here next to the disk drive and just above it. Okay? Also, if you've never taken your PlayStation apart or it hasn't been serviced, there is going to be your little security sticker for warranty. Mine's already been taken apart, obviously, so I didn't need to remove it. If you're doing this yourself, you're probably going to have to remove it. All right, now that we have all our screws out, I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side where I'm not going to forget the orientation of it. That way I don't misplace a screw. Now you're going to gently lift the cover off here. Okay, as you're lifting, you want to rotate it up. There are two connectors that you need to gently pull apart one of them. The other one, you have to depress a tiny little spring here in order to remove the connector. If you do not depress it, you will damage the ribbon. Okay, this is the ribbon I'm talking about. We're going to set that to the side. Now, on the motherboard here, right here, is that little spring that I was talking about. You need to depress that or you will damage your ribbon cable. Next thing is you have another ribbon cable right here that needs to be removed, along with 4 regular snap-on cables, another ribbon cable here. Carefully remove those. All right, now that those are removed, you've got more screws that you have to remove. Be very careful with these wires. They are fragile because they're so small. Same with the ribbon cable. Just barely move them and grab the ribbon cables by the little clear blue plastic tab and gently pull and wiggle them out. Barely wiggle. Once you're done with that, it's time to go ahead and take our Torx bit again and remove these other screws. All right, next you have to remove this tiny cover plate. It covers another ribbon cable with a spring on it to retain it right next to the solid state drive. Put the screws back in it, set it aside. That is right here when it's on the PlayStation. Then you've got a screw here and a screw here that you have to remove. Then you're going to flip your PlayStation over. You got a screw here and a screw here to remove. Once you've removed those, lay it back down gently. Grab right here, then you're going to release the ribbon cable. Okay? Press on that again, gently wiggle that cable. It's very stiff. Don't move it very much, you will damage it. Okay? Once you've done that, lay it down, lift and lift. That removes your motherboard. You can now clean your motherboard thoroughly. Mine's pretty clean because I cleaned it about 2-3 weeks ago. You can see those fins are very, very clear. Those are what you need to clean if you're cleaning it. If you're not, set the motherboard aside. Now, we're down to the power supply. The power supply just lifts out of here now, okay? This is our power supply, okay? This is what we're doing today. All right, as you can see, there is a very slight difference in our power supply, and that is these cables and this piece of metal here that they're soldered to. To get that off, you're going to take your tweezers. You're going to very gently squeeze the little prong there. Then you're going to rotate it out carefully. Set your old power supply aside. Bring your new one over, and you're going to put it back in. It just snaps into place. As long as you get it started correctly, it'll snap right in. Then you line your wires back up, and you're ready to start reassembly. All right, during disassembly, this piece can come off very easy, so make sure it's aligned where it was, and stay tuned for part 2, reassembly. This is all the venting on the bottom of the PS5 other than in the back right here. Okay. This is not going to force any air into the power supply unit. So because I have this cooling stand over here for my PS5 to sit on that has two fans in it, we're going to add some air holes in here. Now, just adding them into the case isn't going to do anything because the power supply sits in the case like this. There's no holes here. So, this is the new power supply. I'm going to do this on the case for the old power supply. So, I've already taken it apart. What you do to take it apart is you've got a screw here and a screw here. Take both of those, well, my bad. A screw here and a screw here. Take those apart. You're going to take a little plastic pry bar, like this one. You're going to lift up a little bit, and then you're going to stick it in, and you're going to pry it apart. As I've already taken this apart, it comes apart very easily. Now, you need to be careful inside of the power supply. There's a lot of capacitors. They could still have some electricity stored in them. They will hurt if they zap you, and if you have a heart condition, they could cause serious issues. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set the power supply cover inside of our PS5. Okay? Just how it would sit, bolted in there and mounted how it's supposed to be. Then, I'm going to take this drill with this 9/64 bit. The only reason I'm using 9/64 is that's the size I grabbed, and it's relatively close to the factory vent hole size. It's a little bit bigger. But we're going to go ahead and set this in there, chuck our bit, get it nice and tight, and then we're going to go ahead and press down, and right here underneath the mounting screw hole, I'm going to add a hole. And I'm going to go all the way through right here and the base of the PS5. I'm going to go ahead and do that a few more times along here. That's going to free up some airflow potential going into the power supply, helping keep it a little cooler. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to vacuum up to clean, and we'll get right back to this. Alright, so it goes without saying, but if you've followed me along this far and are actually doing this repair yourself, you've probably voided your warranty before this point, but I've gone ahead and added all those holes that I was talking about. The case does match those holes. As I said before, I set it in there, then I drilled. This is going to help a little bit with the cooling of the power supply. I don't know exactly how much. I'm not doing the math on it. It's going to take way too long for me to do that. But logic dictates if you add more air holes to allow air to be forced in, it's going to stay cooler. So that's what we did. I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, clean up my mess here, and then we'll get back to reassembly. Alright, so I've already modified the case of the power supply unit along with the case for the whole PlayStation 5. As you can see, there's holes in there. You might be able to, yeah, you can kind of see that the holes go all the way through. Alright, I'm not showing you how to reassemble that because it's reverse of assembly, but basically, this is the old power supply. You set this case on, click it in, you put screw in, and as you can tell, this power supply had some issues. So we're going to just set that off to the side. We're going to continue on with our reassembly. You're going to grab your motherboard, okay? You can see the two prongs right here. That's the prongs that power the whole motherboard. Those are going to go into that square hole that was messed up on the old power supply, okay? To do that, you want these two wires from that little heatsink that goes on the power supply off to the side, outside of the case. Now, you've got your ribbon cable here and your ribbon cable here. What I like to do is I like to get the ribbon cables up on top of the motherboard as you wiggle it in, okay? This makes it a little easier to set it in place and to pop it down. Okay, it's going to fall down in, and then you're going to give it a little push. That little push helps seat it. Now, go ahead and put that locking ribbon cable in. You need to depress it as you push the cable in. Depress the lock as you push the cable in. Then you're going to grab the other ribbon cable. By its little bitty clear blue head, you're going to set it up there, and you're going to give it a little wiggle and push. Just like when taking apart, tiny, tiny wiggle. Not much. Now, make sure that your wires, your white and blue, are fed through those little holders that they were in prior to disassembly. Feed them back where they go. I also like to put them back underneath the little tape that held them. Obviously, the tape's not going to be very adhesive anymore, but you want them to be where they were. Now, we're going to pause and we're going to look at the diagram that I used, or the picture I took for the disassembly of where these wires go. You don't want to mess up where they go. It could cause issues. I couldn't figure out how to add that picture into the video, so I went and pulled it up on a different phone to go ahead and show you guys. Okay? Notate that the black is closest to the edge, white below it. The white and the blue coming from the power supply, white is closest to the edge, blue is closer to the center. Make sure you put them back the way that yours came off. Take a picture while you're doing disassembly just to make sure. Yours may be different, your mileage may vary, etc., etc. So go ahead and do that. And then we're going to hook up our ribbon cable over here that comes off of the light. Alright, at this point, your system should look like this if it's the same series as mine. That's the 1200 series. Okay? Go ahead and look. You can see the cable colors, where they route to, etc., etc. And like I said, make sure those cables are running through their little retainers. Now, we're going to go ahead and put the solid state drive and ribbon cable cover back on. You should have put the screws in their respective screw holes during disassembly. If you didn't, they are a very short T8 screw. Here's the example. Very short. Maybe half a centimeter long. Tighten those down, and then we're going to continue on. Alright, now before going any further that we have that secured, we're going to go ahead and put our screws back in the motherboard. Okay? You've got a long screw with very coarse threads. That's going to go right here. There's a hole at the very base of the PlayStation right next to the mounting screw for the vertical mount. Go ahead and put that in the hole. Tighten it up. Now you've got another coarse thread screw that's just about a centimeter long. And that is going to go right up here next to our black cable that we just installed. So we're going to go ahead and put that in its spot, tighten it down. Okay, now if you've been following this whole tutorial, you're going to remember that on the opposite side, we have two screws. These are fine thread screws. They're just over 1 inch long, okay? One goes right here. Tighten it up. And you don't want these to be Gorilla tight, just good and snug. Or, in the mechanics world, German torque, good and tight. And then, we're going to go ahead and reinstall our disk drive. So, I'll get back to you with that. Alright, just like with disassembly, make sure you depress the little lock for the ribbon cable for the disk drive. If you don't, you're going to damage it. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and put our case back together. Just like we took it apart, nice and gentle. Okay? And we're going to reinsert all of these screws where they came out of. Alright, once you're done with that, we're going to go ahead and put the fan back on, exact reverse of how you took it out. While you're doing that, go ahead and put your solid state drive cover back on too. Once you're done with that, you're ready to test it. And as you can see, it seems to be working, so we're going to go ahead and put our cover plates back on and start trying her out.